Have you ever got to the end of the month and you realized your budget was completely unrealistic? Yeah, it all made sense on paper, and it worked for some items that had fixed amounts like rent, mortgage, insurance, utilities, things like that. But other things like gas, groceries, restaurants, clothes, maybe you were just making a wild guess. And then your actual cost just did not fit into the budget you had allotted for them. So because they cost more, it threw everything off, and then you ended up in debt. Well, the same thing happens when we try to use time blocking alone. We choose a block for a certain task or project, maybe 1 hour, or 2, 3 hours, but really it's just a guess. We don't really know how long that task or project is going to take. So if it ends up taking longer, it can throw off our whole day. And then we find ourselves working late, losing sleep, losing time with family and friends. It's time to go beyond time blocking to time budgeting. In time budgeting, we begin with an estimate of how long each task or project will take. An estimate that is as accurate as possible. Now, we still are going to block off the time, but now we're going to be making an intelligent decision based on an accurate estimate of how long it's going to take. So let's look at 5 ways to achieve more with time budgeting than you could ever achieve with only time blocking. The first way is to use past data to estimate how long something will take. Now, if it's just a routine task, you probably know off the top of your head approximately how long you need. So it might be something you do every week or every month, maybe even every day. So you have a really good idea of how long it takes. Or you might have some paper or digital notes or records that you could go back and check. So past projects that you worked on, anywhere where you might have written down how long it took to do something. And also, there are some things where we know what our rate is. So for example, I'm a certified translator. I know in general how many words I can translate in an hour. I also do editing, and I know basically how many words I can edit in an hour. So I can use that rate to calculate another project that I'm looking at. So say it's 5,000 words of editing, I take my rate of words I can edit per hour. That'll give me a really good idea of how long it's going to take. So maybe you do work that is similar in the sense that you have a rate you can use to help you estimate time. Now, I do suggest that you don't estimate only in increments of 1 hour, because if something ends up taking an hour and 20 minutes, what are you going to do the rest of that hour? Just waste it? No, I think it's better to estimate in half hour or even 15-minute increments so you can make full use of every working hour. The second way to go beyond time blocking into time budgeting is to leave margin. And we do have a full video about this, but let's just recap some important points. Leaving margin is especially critical if you are making a guess about how long something's going to take. So that might be because you've never done the task before, or you've done it but you didn't keep track of how long it took. Another reason might be that it's something so new that it's going to involve some research, some learning, maybe some skill development, and that can be really hard to estimate. For example, if you have to learn new software, you're not sure how long it's going to take to really become good at it. So it might be safe to add 25 to 50% margin to the time you expect something's going to take if it's sort of routine. But if it's something brand new, you might want to actually double the time that you estimate. It's kind of like that tip they give us for vacations. Take half the clothes you think you need and twice as much money as you think you will need. And so maybe take on half the projects you think you can do and estimate double the time if we're talking about brand new projects. Now, if you get it done faster than you expected, you can always just use the time to work on something else, so there's nothing lost. Now, the third way that you can use time budgeting to achieve more than you could with only time blocking is to use cash flow principles. So let me explain. It's not enough to just add up all of your income for the month and then keep all your expenses under that amount. There's the issue of cash flow. That means, what dates does that income arrive? Are you paid every week, every month, or every 2 weeks? And also, what dates are the expenses due? It could be varied. They could be staggered throughout the month. So if you get paid at the end of the month, but your rent, mortgage, utility bills, insurance, etc. are all due by the 15th or the 20th, then you have a cash flow problem. Really, the only way to solve it is to get ahead. You might want to think about getting a month ahead in your financial budget so that you always have the funds available to pay everything that comes due that following month. Well, it's the same with time. Let's say you have 100 hours or more to work this month, and you have 4 big projects, and you figure they're each going to take maybe 25 hours each. Well, what if 3 of them are due by the 15th? Then you have a cash flow problem in your time budget. You're going to run out of time before the deadlines. So you have to find a way to get ahead somehow. Now, one thing about working ahead, it's a great stress reliever. So if you have your deadlines set so that you think that you're going to be done maybe a week or 2 ahead of time, you don't tell the other people involved that you plan to be done then. You leave the deadline what it is. But if you find it takes longer than you expected, or if you get sick, then you don't have to feel like you have to push through and work when you feel horrible, because you've got that extra time built in. You're getting ahead. Also, it impresses people when you finish before a deadline, but they're certainly not impressed if you finish after a deadline. So if you can underpromise and overdeliver, you're going to have a lot of happy people in your life. The fourth way that we can go beyond time blocking into time budgeting is to beware of the snowball effect. So let's say we block out Saturday morning for cleaning the bathroom and vacuuming the house every week. Well, what happens if we don't do it at that time? Well, then we have to live with it for another week. We have to put up with the mess for another week. And the next week, it's actually going to take even longer because dirt accumulates. So instead of having 1 week of dirt to clean up, we have 2. Well, another example is accounting. So I have a budgeting program, and it downloads my transactions from my bank accounts, and then I match the receipts to it. So I have 2 reasons I do that. I want to put the receipts in the right category so I can print reports and see where the money's going. But it also helps me to make sure that nobody's using my credit card in a fraudulent way. So if I can match a receipt to it, then I know it was my expense. Well, if I don't do that partway through the month, then at the end of the month, I have so many receipts that it is just a nightmare. I have to try to categorize them, and there are just so many cluttered up. So I've learned to try to do it halfway through the month and then finish at the end of the month. Or when I reconcile my credit card to the budget program, it is something I know I'm supposed to do every month. Now, recently I waited a few months to do it because I was kind of busy, but it took so long to fix it because the amounts did not match. And I had to print out every transaction for the last few months and go through and double check it with the budget program. What was really frustrating is the problem was actually back near the beginning. So there were some double entries that the software had accidentally downloaded twice. So I was finally able to reconcile, but it was a lot of wasted time. If I had done that every month and kept up with it, I could have avoided that snowball effect and saved myself some stress. So if you have routine work tasks to do, try to force yourself to do them in the time slot that you budgeted for them. Otherwise, it's going to throw everything off. It's going to be a snowball effect of accumulation. The final way here that I want to talk about going beyond time blocking into time budgeting is to start tracking your time. So to really become effective at time budgeting, you need good data. You need to know how long certain tasks and projects actually take, because guessing can be really inaccurate. Well, the only way to get that data is to track your time. That means that every day you need to write down how long you spent on each task or project, and then periodically you're going to add it up so you have the total time for each task or project. Then the next time that you do the same task, or even something similar, you actually have accurate data to work with. And you won't be just making a wild guess. Now in this series, Time Budgeting 101, we've been looking at how to time budget your day. In our next series, Time Budgeting 201, we're going to focus on tracking your time so that you can budget your time for your week. Now we've looked at 5 ways to go beyond time blocking and use time budgeting to achieve more. The first was use past data to estimate how long something will take. The second was to leave enough margin, especially if you are estimating how long a project or task will take. The third was to use cash flow principles for budgeting your time. The fourth was to beware of the snowball effect. And fifth, start tracking your time. So, I have a question for you. Do you budget your time on a daily or weekly basis? Or maybe even on a monthly basis? Feel free to comment below. Do you budget your time on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis? Now be sure to get your free task triage worksheet by clicking the link below in the comments, and stay tuned for the next series, Time Budgeting 201, How to Time Budget Your Week.